Whether it's a creative organic farmer, or it's an engineer, or it's a software person, or it's an artist. They want to be able to be in a place where they can communicate with other people and be inspired and share ideas. The place-based economy connects very well also with the churn economy and the creative economy because they want places to go and recreate. They like the Vermonter discount at a skier. They like being able to do that right nearby, or we used to go cross-country skiing at our lunch break at Logic. Those are things that in a place-based economy can make a difference, and the same with the connection to the slow money economy. That in fact many of the leaders in tourism in the state of Vermont are looking at the agritourism connected to the slow money economy as the key to getting to a four-season tourism economy in the state of Vermont. These are critical, they can come together, and I would make the suggestion that we are the only state that can actually do all of these because we already have the brand, as long as we can keep it, to be able to take advantage of these and get the premium for the slow money economy right out of the gate, as well as the attractiveness to bring people here if they can actually communicate with other folks in other parts of the world, and also our strategic location. We are the size of the technology triangle of North Carolina. The state of Vermont is the exact same size. And we are between three incredibly large markets. If you look at Montreal, Boston, and New York, those are big markets in terms of consumers that are looking for things that are value added, but also they are centers of innovation. So you actually have talent not that far away to help be able to build on an innovative idea if you can put the other components in place to allow them to think about Vermont as a place where they can live and raise a family, not just come and vacation. So how do you reach this vision? You do it by creating the 21st century infrastructure. You make sure that you've got capital. You make sure that you have an investment in higher education so you're not 49th in the country. And you change fundamentally the culture in Montpelier to an enterprise that is responsive, is light, and is able to move quickly with businesses to allow them to know what they can do and they can't do as fast as possible. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that will look like under a new administration. So the types of infrastructure we're talking about is fiber to the home, and to make sure with that to bring cell phone coverage. The second is we need to make sure that we have transportation that can get us in and out of the state at business travel, and that means rail and air. We also need to make sure that we have property that we fast track to be able to be redeveloped. And all of us, I think, can agree that we should be targeting the 4 million square feet of abandoned industrial space in the state of Vermont first. Right? It's there. It frequently has all the access to water and sewer and highways and rail systems, but we have not been proactive about it. And instead we get into fights about whether or not we should be opening up development of prime ag soils in our forest. We can make that happen, and we can do so by pre-permitting. We can say it is all right to do in advance the kind of permitting process that can show clear parameters and allow people who want to come in and redevelop those spaces know what they have to invest in, know what the historic preservation requirements are, know what the cleanup is in real, measurable terms, and just get moving on. That's the best way to get those up and running quickly and to move us forward. But we also need to be investing in the next generation agriculture infrastructure. And that includes things like slaughterhouses. It includes having an intervale not just in Burlington, but in every county of the state of Vermont, where innovative entrepreneurs in the agriculture space can have a place to experiment and to build out, and other processing facilities that can be shared so that farmers can focus on farming and not on distribution. Quick word about broadband. I've been talking about this for a long time. I'm delighted that many of the other candidates have adopted this over a period. Back when I was first talking about it in 2002 in the Senate, people used to make jokes about my wanting to play video games and things like that, which was kind of amusing. Today it's no joke. We are dead last. It means not only the ability for innovators to start but a business owner who has an office here in Vermont said that when I brought high-speed internet to his building in Dover, he would hire 15 people immediately. It's a lot of people in a town of 1,300 folks. As well as the example that I made from the rocket manufacturer. But there's also studies to back this up. And in fact, one study showed that investing $275 million into high-speed internet would yield over 5,000 jobs. It was a study that looked at a number of different types of communities across the country. And the other is that it would show a real increase in our gross state product. And I don't think this is an overstatement that you would see an increase of $1.5 billion, just allowing more commerce to take place and people to be able to do the kind of business at the speed that they need to compete in the global marketplace. We need to make sure that we have access to capital. As some of you know, Hinda Miller and I created the Seed Capital Fund, which took a while for the administration to actually get online. It's been, this last legislative session, it was renamed and given some additional resources. We need to do much more of it. Maine now has a $70 million early stage fund, and we need to get it up to that level. We also need to make sure that we're creating incentives for Vermonters who do investment to invest in Vermont. And we have a number of those. So we have proposed that we actually give a capital gain deferral to any Vermonter who receives a capital gain and immediately invests it in a qualified Vermont business. And that they would be allowed to defer that capital gain as long as they kept on plowing it into Vermont qualified businesses over and over and over again. This would allow us to orient the resources that we have here in the state of Vermont and create an incentive to do it. Not everyone is going to invest in a Vermont company, but this will create a real incentive for them to do so early and have a win-win across the board. The final piece is microenterprise. When I was the head of AmeriCorps Vista, we did a lot of microenterprise investment, and I will increase out of the economic development capitalization that we do, the amount of money that goes to people who are unemployed to be able to start their own small business. What we found is that, in fact, the default rates are better than many banks, and that it helps to build a new middle class. But I'm also proposing something that is modeled on an organization called Kiva, where you as an individual in the United States can make a micro loan to a person in a third world country to allow them to start a small business. You know that there's going to be the support services there. We can do the same thing here in Vermont, where we allow for Vermonters to make donations that are tax deductible to Vermont organizations that then go out and work with unemployed Vermonters to allow them to start a small business. You can do it anonymously or not, and then be able to have a return on that, which isn't going to give you a percentage return, but you will have an understanding that you will be donating to help support new business startups in the state of Vermont to get some tax benefit out of it. And to me, it provides the kind of Vermont sense of community approach that we can have to allow people to grow this next generation of Main Street businesses. We absolutely have to get beyond being 49th in the country for higher education. That's not going to happen overnight. We got to being this low, in fact, some argue 50th, just if you look at capital investments, and it's going to take a while to get out of it. But we can start to make some investments. The first is with tech transfer. It allows for university to build the space to allow universities to be able to do the kind of innovation work that we're seeing some of at the University of Vermont and at Norwich, to bring ideas into the global marketplace from the lab and the classroom, and then generate revenue on an ongoing basis for those institutions of higher education. The second is the Vermont Service Scholarship Fund. We are one of the highest states for the indebtedness of graduates when they get out of college. We are also have the largest gap where we have a very high graduation rate for high school, very, very high, and our test scores support it, yet we have one of the lowest rates of people starting higher education. We don't